My brother's in test. My brother. Let's do a battle of the esters. Look, I've taken everything short of subcutaneous pellet implantation and like 20+ day acting long, super long esters. I've taken every ester. I've run testosterone cypionate for TRT. I've run testosterone enanthate for TRT. I've run testosterone propionate for TRT, and I've run testosterone cream for TRT. And in this video, I kind of want to just do a logical comparison, pros and cons of each ester. And in the end, I'm going to break down the logic for what I think is the best ester. Certainly the best ester that works for me, but importantly for people like that are on maybe a long ester and want to switch to a short ester, people that are on a short ester and maybe want to switch to a long ester, people that are coming into TRT and like kind of looking at the various options, you know, what you should do. I'm going to break down everything in a battle of the esters. Which is better? What are the pros and cons? Because look, there are different energy profiles, different anabolism profiles, different libido and erectile quality profiles to different esters. So sit back, relax, strap in, brother, because we're going to do a battle of the esters. All right, before we get started, discount codes on product this week. Look, Cortex Labs is a performance optimization company for men. We got a bunch of different products ranging from nootropics to coaching. Right now, the Cortex Stack, very popular, potent, instant stimulant that I built is buy one, get one free. The code for that is Cortex BOGO, and you can find that code and the link in the description of the video. Coaching. Look, if you need to hire me for TRT optimization, sexual dysfunction, libido optimization, dopamine restoration, nootropics, host of other specialties, you can do so in under a minute at livecortex.com and look at all the different breakdowns on coaching options. Again, links are down in the description of this video. All right, brother. So let's do a battle of the esters, okay? I've taken everything. I've run SIP, I've run Enanthate, I've run all these for TRT, I've run prop, I've run cream, I've done different protocols. I've done infrequent injections, I've done everyday injections, I've done sub-Q, I've done shallow AM. I've done everything of the most popular 4 esters for TRT, and I'm gonna break it all down in this video. Let's start with testosterone cypionate. All right, so cypionate is like the most commonly or most popularly prescribed ester, which really took precedence over prop. Propionate was the ester prior to cypionate becoming, you know, mainstream and largely prescribed. And, you know, the idea was make it last longer. How could we change the pharmacokinetics of a drug and make it kind of sit in a depot and just release slowly so that people don't have to pin every day? Testosterone cypionate has about an 8-day, maybe 9-day half-life, right? So at 8 days or so, half of the drug is out of the system. And for the ensuing 8 days, we're still 50% of that drug in the system. You know, cypionate is really what popularized like the phrase or the word depot relative to testosterone injections, where you inject in the muscle or subcutaneous tissue and you've got a depot of testosterone with the ester that sits there and then it slowly metabolizes. What are the pros? Because of this nature of it being a long ester, you don't have to inject it frequently. It's kind of easy. It's just like pin and done. You could do it once a week, you know, twice a week. Max what I would suggest on longer esters, if it's a normal TRT dose, would be 3 times weekly. But it's easy, you know, pin and done. Like even 3 times a week. Okay, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, like not a big deal. It's just a quick pin and you're done. Another pro is that cypionate is like widely available. Like we're never going to see a testosterone cypionate shortage. That's just never going to happen, right? You'll always be able to get cypionate no matter what happens. Another pro of cypionate is like there are a lot of anecdotals out there. Largely what dominates the testosterone and TRT subreddits are people's anecdotal experiences on testosterone cypionate. So like if you're having issues, one side effect or the other, estradiol or whatever, or pinning frequency, administration methods, you know, Reddit offers at least a good discussion with people's anecdotals infused into the discussion. All right, with all that said, those are the pros. Let's talk about the cons of testosterone cypionate. First con is that, look, long esters stick around longer, which ultimately means more exposure of estradiol at the tissues. Now, estradiol in the blood is somewhat of a surrogate for what's happening in the tissue, but not an accurate surrogate of what's happening in the tissue. And if you have no trough, which you get a trough if you're injecting once a week on cypionate, but if you're injecting twice a week, you really don't have that much of a trough. You're just getting constant steady state exposure at the tissue level of estradiol. You're going to find a lot of guys having sexual problems, libido specifically, or erectile issues on longer esters specifically because of this. It's either that they're pinning way too frequently, because this stuff is ultimately made to be pinned less frequently and you get a better response usually. You get, you know, more of a peak and a trough. If you're doing once a week, you get a peak and then you actually get a legitimate trough at that point, even every 5 days. But ultimately just more exposure to constant steady state estradiol, which people think is a good thing and may be for some, but in my opinion and experience, actually is somewhat of a negative factor relative to libido and sexual function, because you just have constant receptor activation from estradiol at the ERB and ERA receptors. Also, though, longer esters, proven in the medical literature, execute more of a suppression on the HPG axis, specifically the hypothalamus. So you've got more of that suppression on the hypothalamus than with shorter esters. Now, thankfully, hypothalamus pituitary is a system that pumps out many different hormones, ranging from thyroid hormones to growth hormone to antidiuretic hormone. So it's not going to shut down completely, but relative to the GnRH and kind of the sexual processing part of the hypothalamus, I mean, that all gets shut down on longer esters, more so than on shorter esters. Another con of cypionate is it tends to rise hematological parameters like hematocrit, more so, or be like a little more troublesome than shorter esters, right? Again, you really don't get that much of a trough, so you just got this steady state androgens, you got steady state of this RBC production and thus increases in hematocrit. Anecdotally, in my client work, this is a weird one, but over time, like working with men in South America as an example, they know down there and in other countries that cypionate aromatizes more. Like they just kind of know like that's going to give you more estrogen than a shorter ester. So just something to think about. Again, this whole notion of like, oh, you're steady state and you're just injecting every day or every other day or 3 times a week or whatever, and you're stable, that means you don't get these significant peaks. Okay, that's true, but you also don't get troughs. If you're not getting peaks, you're not having a trough. You do not get a break of estrogen at the receptors. Okay, you guys need to understand that. I've got questions about that in the comment section. It's quite simple. What I found, so this is anecdotal in my client work, is that men get the best sexual function on cypionate when they're using it as intended. All right, cypionate was meant to inject less frequently, twice a week, once a week, max 3 times a week. Guys just end up getting a bigger androgen load and more androgen receptor mediated transcriptional activity, ultimately more of a pulse of testosterone at once versus microinjections with long esters. So I don't know. I mean, a rating, let's call it 1 to 10. You know, I give testosterone cypionate a 5. Okay, moving on to testosterone enanthate. All right, so pretty similar to testosterone cypionate. Half-life is 4 to 7 days. So, you know, stays around a little less long. Pros, you don't have to inject it as frequently. You know, again, you can run 3 times a week, twice a week, and for some people, they're going to be able to tolerate just 1 bolus injection a week of testosterone enanthate. Again, these esters were made that way, to be injected that way. Another pro, it's super convenient. Again, you know, for the guys that don't like pinning and don't want to have to be dealing with testosterone all the time, you just pin once or twice or 3 times a week and you're done. It's just an easy injection. You know, we were to 0.5 ml every 4th day or whatever it is, and you're done and done. Cons, comparable to cypionate, again, longer esters stick around more. So you get more steady state of estradiol, more constant exposure via less troughs. So you never actually, in your effect duration window, get to have your body in a condition where you've got 20 to 25 picograms per milliliter of estradiol, which is kind of the best range for sexual function for a good degree of men on TRT. Again, also because it's a long ester, more likely to disturb the hematological parameters like hematocrit. Regarding sexual function, what I found with enanthate is kind of the same thing as cypionate. It's like people get the best sexual function when they're injecting it as intended, you know, once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week max. If people start getting sexual dysfunction on 3 times a week, go back to 2 times a week. But, you know, again, I just want to throw in there that people doing daily micro injections of longer esters, some people tend to do fine on that. But like in my client work, I've just seen a disproportionate amount of men not have adequate libido and erectile function on every day, every other day injections, just because they're requiring more of a bolus at once. So on a scale of 1 to 10, like I'd probably give testosterone enanthate like a 6, maybe a 6.5. Okay, that's kind of where it's not a 10 for me. Like it's not my favorite ester. If testosterone enanthate was all that was around, I could make it work. You could make it work. There are ways to make it work. All right, let's talk about testosterone propionate. Testosterone propionate is a less common testosterone ester. It was actually the dominant ester before cypionate and enanthate came into this space. It's got a half-life of like 19 hours or something. So at, what is that, 39, 40 hours, call it, the drug is completely out of your system, which is one of the pros. But here are the major pros. Very quick peak in testosterone levels. Like that day, you're going to get a substantial peak in serum testosterone levels. So what that usually ends up meaning for people is a better balanced testosterone to estrogen ratio. The ratio does in fact matter, like to an extent in certain contexts. And when you're pretty super physiologic or close to super physiologic, maybe you're like high physiologic levels of testosterone pretty quickly. I mean, some of that aromatization is still going to happen, but you've got these elevated levels of test. So the ratio ends up being better. You're going to anecdotally find a lot of people switching from cypionate or enanthate to prop end up having better sexual function just via the testosterone to estradiol ratio. Likely, I can't prove this, I've not found this in the literature, but likely you're going to have a better conversion of testosterone to dihydrotestosterone, again, via that quick peak of androgens. Now, you are going to metabolize some of that to estradiol, but importantly, it won't stay around long. You're not just going to have, steady state elevated levels of estrogen, and that's ultimately going to trough. One of the other pros, and you're going to find this anecdotally, is the mental feels, like the mental energy feels on testosterone propionate are very fucking different than cypionate or enanthate. I mean, day of injection, and it's a short ester, so you're injecting daily or every other day, you feel that energy, man. You feel it in the gym, you feel it in your brain, you feel lively, you feel like that dopaminergic energy profile, and you just kind of want to kill it in life. Another pro, prop is easy as hell to dial in. I mean, after 2 days, the drug is basically out of your system. So if you're on 150 milligrams and you run that for a week straight and you're finding you got some sort of side effect or it isn't quite right, you can move up to 170 or 180, or you can drop down to 120. Easier to dial in because it's out of the system faster. I mean, you don't have to wait 30 days to make a dose change or to kind of assess how you feel on a given testosterone dose. That's one of the things I loved about prop and that I definitely dislike about longer esters. Also, though, another pro of testosterone propionate is it, as I said before, tends to give men better sexual function. If they're struggling with libido and erections on cypionate or enanthate, they go to prop and suddenly that issue is resolved, likely via the TDE ratio, less aromatization because you have a peak and a trough. You're not constantly steady state working those gears of aromatase converting androgens into estrogen. And again, you got more conversion to DHT likely and a super physiologic quicker peak. So the TDE ratio in terms of, or for libido and sexual function is just better for a lot of guys on prop. Now, what are the cons? Yeah, testosterone propionate does come with cons, and one of them is you got to pin every day. So for those of you that don't like having to pin testosterone all the time, like every day or every other day, and would rather just pin once a week, yeah, maybe longer esters might work out better for you. They're intended for that use anyway. But it might suck for some guys to have to pin every day. What if you travel? What if you're on planes a lot? You got to bring the testosterone everywhere and you got to pin every day. Whereas if you're traveling for a week, you could just inject cypionate, the day before you travel, and you're good for a week. Also, the post-injection pain, pretty notorious for causing irritation, inflammation in the site of injection, especially if you're doing subcutaneous injections. What I found with testosterone propionate in my own experience is that you can avoid a good degree of the PIP by just injecting shallow intramuscular in the ventral glutes. But it's a con nonetheless, right? It's a pain in the ass to have pain in the site of injection when you're injecting a medicine. It's a pain in the butt. Another con is not a lot of people make it. It's just a little harder to find. I mean, you got to have a compounding pharmacy or work with a clinic like Defy Medical who uses Empower for their pharmacy for most of their products, and they still make testosterone propionate, but it's not widely available in every other clinic. Male Excel is a TRT clinic, as an example, that does not have testosterone propionate. They strictly run cypionate. Now, given the pros and cons of testosterone propionate, I would rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 like an 8. Testosterone propionate is one of my favorite fucking esters. I feel so good on it. The sexual function's insane. PIP is tolerable. You got to inject every day, so it's a bit of a pain in the ass in that regard. Anabolism is good. Generally, you just feel really, really good, and instantly after injection throughout the whole day. I mean, you're super physiologic, and then you're staying high physiologic as you drop down to still being physiologic on testosterone propionate. So I'd give it an 8. Lastly, testosterone cream. Let's talk about testosterone cream. Okay. Cream is a transdermal version or the transdermal administration of testosterone. There's 2 different ways, just to simplify, to apply testosterone cream. One is on the testicles, so extra scrotally, just on scrotum skin. And the other is on the shoulders, forearms. You can just kind of, rub it anywhere you've got skin. It's going to absorb. Cream is a very fast acting mode of testosterone. You really can't even consider it an ester because it's not esterized. It's a fast acting transdermal testosterone solution. In the literature, the peak on total testosterone is 2.9 hours. So, I mean, if you want to peak at hour 3 after administration, but you start peaking, you start going high physiologic and then super physiologic, kind of right away, that's what cream is good for. All right, pros. Easy application, okay? A couple pumps, whether you're doing twice daily or once daily, just on the scrotum is very easy. It takes under a minute. It literally takes me, so I run cream. I'm running 3 pumps daily at this point, 200 milligrams per milliliter testosterone, compounded testosterone cream, 3 pumps in the morning, lasts the whole day, super physiologic levels. I feel fucking amazing in the gym. My energy really doesn't change all day. I feel great all day, and it's easy, okay? It's easy. I take a shower prior so I don't have to worry about getting wet met and dealing with a loss of material. So like it's all good. It's very, very easy. Next pro, super physiologic testosterone. Like if you want a way to deliver testosterone that will guarantee you will get super physiologic levels very, very quickly, it's testosterone cream. There's just no way that unless you're some 1% non-responder that you're not going to just have sky high testosterone 3 hours after administration of testosterone cream. Another pro, again, comparable to prop, is that it's got a shorter half-life. So you can make adjustments to like further dial in your TRT protocol, whether you switch from 4 pumps a day, but 2 pumps in the morning and 2 pumps in the evening to just 4 pumps in the morning, or you switch from 2 pumps in the morning, 2 pumps in the evening to just 3 pumps in the morning, or you switch from 2 pumps in the morning and 1 pump in the evening. Like if you feel like you're overstimulated because the energy is pretty fucking powerful with testosterone cream, or like if you're aromatizing too much or whatever side effect you end up getting, and maybe feel some head pressure because there's just too much stimulation at once, you can very quickly and very easily change the dose, and your new norm will be present for you to assess in like 3 or 4 days. Whereas again, with longer esters, you're waiting to, minimally 2 weeks. Ultimately though, to do it properly, 3, 4, 5, like 6 weeks in some cases. Like I've seen cases where people have to run a whole 6 weeks of longer ester to see how it's affecting them. Androgen receptors change, upregulate, estradiol changes, homeostasis changes, so it takes a long time. And also with cream, you are likely, because of the fact that it's a shorter acting testosterone modality, you're likely to have a better hematological profile. And people have reported this all around the web. TRT doctors with clients.
So yeah, I know it's what we do at the clinic for some of our patients is a very bespoke dose. Everyone's dose is a bit different. We've had patients come to us from other clinics who were doing the 10 milligrams a day of subcutaneous testosterone cypionate and had sky high, could not get under control. And again, this is highly individual. That doesn't apply across the board. Couldn't get the hematocrit and hemoglobin under control. And some of the studies out there, I think one of the things you guys might know, they talk about the trough level of free testosterone as a predictor of your hematocrit and hemoglobin rising. So one of our doctors put a few of our patients now on testosterone propionate. And I know that seems almost counterintuitive because one would assume that the spike of testosterone is going to jack up the hematocrit and hemoglobin. What we found in a small subset of patients is that we've actually, because it rises, it falls, it gives a little bit of time before the next injection, that we've seen a fall in the hematocrit and hemoglobin.
All right, so probably going to be easier on the hematocrit for most guys. All right, another pro of testosterone cream is it readily converts, more so than injections, more so than prop in my opinion, to dihydrotestosterone, right? So you're getting more DHT, so that's essentially more bang for your buck. You get masculinity, you get energy, your fucking jawline starts chiseling. I'm telling you, DHT is a very, very powerful hormone. Don't let anybody convince you that you don't need to have adequate levels of DHT. But importantly, 5-alpha reductase enzymes sit in your testicles, and you got a good degree of them. They're in the skin. So when you're using cream and it's transferring over, you're getting a good degree of that conversion to DHT. You're actually going to find, and this mirrors my experience, proven by bloods, that people have higher levels of physiologic DHT and sometimes supraphysiologic with testosterone cream versus injections. Cream, because of this pathway, being, I guess, more preferable to dihydrotestosterone, ultimately equals less aromatization. Like guys that are having a hard time dialing in estrogen on longer esters usually do a lot better on cream via this less conversion to estradiol, less aromatization, and more of a reduction into DHT. But another benefit is like you get the benefit of feeling super physiologic pretty much right away, but then you drop, right? Your levels aren't staying elevated all the time. That's why you likely have less hematocrit. You ultimately have less aromatization. You get a trough. And I firmly believe that men will do better in every one of these parameters, sexual function, hematocrit, energy, etc., with a peak and a trough. If you can do it daily, probably even better. The interesting thing about cream, though, is that you're super physiologic after 3 hours, but then you start dropping thereafter. It may stay super physiologic or at that peak point for some time, maybe a couple hours, but then you start dropping, but you stay physiologic. You're not going into like hypogonadal territory of under 300 nanograms per deciliter if you're running cream daily. Another pro, like I alluded to, the energy is insane, okay? No other testosterone administration in my experience, and I think you're going to find that mirrors other people's experiences out there, is as good in terms of energy as testosterone cream. Again, I run 3 pumps extra scrotally in the morning. I notice it onsetting as I'm driving to the gym, which is 15 minutes later, dude. And I have a killer time at the gym. I just generally feel better during that period compared to any other ester, no question. So that's another pro. I'm stronger in the gym. You know, I have personally more of that 3D delt look. I'm just a little fuller on testosterone cream. I'm going super physiologic in 3 hours, man. The strength, like the actual strength is better on cream. The anabolism, like my physique in general, my energy throughout the day, much better on cream. Another pro, guys using long esters like cypionate or enanthate will switch to cream and end up finding that they have better libido, better erections. Like the sexual system has just like overhauled in a very positive way. It may take a few weeks. You guys got to give it time, right? But after 3-4 weeks on cream, suddenly all the sexual benefits that are supposed to come with TRT that you weren't getting on cypionate or enanthate come about when taking cream. Okay, so how would I rate cream? Honestly, dude, like I have a hard time finding any con for me personally with testosterone cream. Like it's not causing shedding in me to some significant degree. I do not have any side effects. I just feel fucking awesome all the time. Like I give cream like a 9.5. Like if I could give it a 10, maybe a 10. Let's just call it 9.5, right? I'm sure I can find something that's wrong with cream. Yeah, right. You can transfer it, right? That's a con. You can transfer it to women if you're having sex with them immediately after application. You could also go in a pool an hour later and maybe lose a little bit of that, a little bit of that testosterone. A good degree is going to be absorbed by then, so I don't think that's a significant issue. But therein, lies rationale to make it a 9.5. All right, my take after using every one of those esters or application modalities in various protocols, whether frequent injections, sub-Q, intramuscular, I basically tried everything, is that it's a close to draw, so close to even, like a draw between testosterone propionate and testosterone cream, with cream edging out prop via like 0 PIP, 0 discomfort, ease of use, ease of application, no pinning, more DHT, less aromatization, like easily done and done. So even though I really like prop, I love prop. Prop is a really, really cool ester. The way you feel is incredible. The sexual function, the anabolism, less aromatization, less steady state estradiol. It's very, very good. But ultimately, my personal experience at this point, and I have enough time now on cream, is that I like cream a little better than prop. All right, so I don't know what's going to be best for you. Look, some men, for the ease of use, but also like the physiological condition that long esters induce in a person, like works out for them, and they do better on testosterone cypionate twice a week or a 0.5 ml every 5th day. So some guys do absolutely fine on CYP. Enanthate, like they just have a good time. It's easy. They don't have to pin a lot. It's like it works for their body. Estrogen doesn't go substantially above range. Then maybe they get a peak and a trough because they're injecting less frequently, and that's that. But look, I mean, guys have problems too on longer esters, like I've mentioned, regarding libido and sexual function and hematological stuff like hematocrit, and end up doing substantially better, like life-changing difference when they either move to prop or they move to cream. For people that have a hard time with aromatization and they're not able to dial in using nastrozole or aromacin, which I understand because those drugs are notoriously hard to dial in, and people are over responders to some of them, including myself, because of prop but more importantly, creams like more preferential reduction of testosterone into dihydrotestosterone, a little less aromatization. That ends up being better for those people. You're going to find a lot of people going on cream and having much better libido. Like the libido and erectile function just came back on cream, where they were really, the sweet spot was so fucking narrow on estrogen with a longer ester. It's weird how these dynamics work in people. And some men, because they want to inject daily or it makes sense for them, and ultimately the TDE ratio is better and they feel better, they're going to do better on prop, right? Just a daily injection of 10 to 12 to 15 to even 20 milligrams of testosterone propionate a day is going to be perfect for TRT for those guys. So weigh it out, do your research, look through the medical journals, look through everybody's anecdotals, like consider what I've said in this video regarding pros and cons, and make a decision for you. If you're on a long ester, want to switch, maybe this video tips the scales. If you're on a short ester and you're on prop and the PIP is crazy, maybe just move to enanthate. Maybe you'll have a better time. Inject less frequently. If you're on cream and you're losing your hair because there's too much DHT, maybe move to prop or cypionate. Again, different esters or application methods are going to be different and affect people differently. And in TRT, I want to encourage people, because this is going to be a lifelong thing, play around a bit. All right. Be a biohacker. Find what works for you and what resonates with your physiology, and then stick with it. All right. Again, guys, Cortex Stack, potent, instant popular stimulant right now. Buy one, get one free. You can't get a better deal than that. I'm giving you a bottle for free per what you buy. Code for that is Cortex BOGO, and you can find the code and the link for this product in the description of this video. All right, I've got 3 slots open for one-on-one hands-on packages with me, whether 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, or 365 days. I've got these big packages where I'm working with business people, high-level entrepreneurs, high-level men for long periods of time to enhance sexual function, brain performance, dopamine, etc., libido optimization, TRT, but also target significant health issues or deleterious side effects from drugs that they've taken regarding the sexual system, among other things that no doctor will ever be able to touch. It's not their job. They don't pay attention to any of these kinds of syndromes. Anyway, 3 slots left. If you need to hire me, you can do so at livecortex.com in under a minute. All right, boys, it has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you have a great rest of your week. Sub to the channel, please. It makes a huge difference. Comment for the algorithm. All right, if you have something to say, please comment in the comment section. I love to have a good discussion on each of these videos, but if you have nothing to say, just punch in the word algo. All right, rock on, kick ass, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.